To me, that's the biggest challenge of what he was proposing. But since that period of time, he's been absolutely silent upon opportunities. So,
are there some opportunity zone deals that you're working on right now that people are selling cryptocurrency or businesses or real estate that can take advantage of? Do they need to be accredited? What does that look like if they were going to work with you, Scott?
so we created the first opportunity zone in Pace Deal in Northwest Ohio, and it may be in the country with the combination of those two things. It was a privately funded PACE project, and we did it back before the regulations even came out. In fact, I was on the phone with the IRS trying to understand what the rules and regulations were going to be, because at that point in time they'd only published the 3/4 of a page of the legislation. And so we implemented at that point in time because we found out that our property wasn't in an OZ and we hadn't closed on it yet. And so we went to our investors and said, hey, would anyone be interested in this? And we had people come forward, and we created it for them. So our opportunity zones, we don't charge anything for our investors on it because they're investing in our projects. That was something that we just created and did for them for their benefit. And then the following Christmas, everyone came back to us and said, when are you going to do your next one? And so our next two projects, we've had 3 projects in the opportunity zones where we've raised money in a significant portion of our overall capital stack is opportunity zone funds. And so that is how we've structured them. And it's the primary thing, because you pointed out, I think that we're going to go into a full-blown recession depending on what happens with this upcoming tax code. I mean, between attacking the 1031s, attacking the capital gains, and all the different ways in which in trust, inheritance tax, those are the 3 major tax shelters that investors go to. The only one that they're not attacking is the opportunity zone, because it was actually established in the Obama administration, in which Biden was obviously the vice president. But they didn't choose to do anything with it. It sat dormant and idle until Trump came into office, and then Trump began promoting it, and then that's where it came into full legislation. The gentleman who created it was Steve Glickman, and he was literally twiddling his thumbs in the Obama administration because they would not touch it. And so when Trump came in, because he was, according to Glickman, trying to deflect a question, his phone started ringing off the hook, and that's why it became the most bipartisan agenda and legislation that was passed, because both sides saw the power and recognized it. And it's an incredibly funded program. And so there's, originally Biden on his campaign webpage was talking about how he was going to talked about changing or implementing social change within it, which I don't know how the IRS would actually monetize or determine what amount of social change had been productive. To me, that's the biggest challenge of what he was proposing. But since that period of time, he's been absolutely silent upon opportunity zones. So I think opportunity zones is one of the few things that has not been, thrown out there as how they're going to impact taxes.
Yeah, very well said. We get that common question too with the deferred sales trust. We go like, hey, they're taking away the 1031 exchange. Does that mean you're taking away the deferred sales trust? We're like, no, it's not even being talked about. It's completely separate. It's based upon IRC 453, which is just an installment sale to seller carryback. And so it's separate. But I want to focus on opportunity zones. Maybe we can give a quick example for some of our listeners. Let's imagine you bought, Bitcoin for $1. It's worth $1 million. You have all this gain. You sell it. Okay. You move it into an opportunity zone. You hold it for 10 years there, right? You got to pay some tax. I think in year 3, maybe 4, right? You got to pay. But then but then at that point, you can grow tax free on a lot of where you're at.